In this segment on management, let's talk about the basics of SWOT analysis, time management in meetings, and what it takes to run efficient meetings. So let's talk about SWOT analysis, and this is just a basic overview of it. The SWOT is a planning method to evaluate the strengths, that's the S, weaknesses, W, opportunities, that's the O, and the threats involved in a project or business venture. It is done at the project level, the regional level, the industry level, whatever it needs to be done at. There are two parts to this. The first two are internal factors. So that's stuff going on inside your company. And the other two are external factors. These are things outside your company. So strengths. What are strengths? The characteristics of the business or project that give it a relative advantage. So this is things that your company is better at doing than others. Maybe you have better people, better machinery, better processes, whatever it is. Weaknesses. These are things that place your firm at a disadvantage, the thing that competitors are better at. Maybe they have better machinery, better people, something like that. External factors, opportunities. These are situations your firm or project could take advantage of. So you might be able to profit from it, but you're not in control of it. It's happening outside of your company. So for example, your competitor may collapse and open up a marketplace that you hadn't anticipated. Another one is you may have a special machine that others don't. So technology chip manufacturers, a lot of them have machines that their competitors don't have. Threats, this is an outside situation that could cause trouble for the firm or project. So yeah, it's things that can hurt your firm, things you cannot foresee, like artificial intelligence may come in and disrupt your systems, or COVID or war or something like that. Now let's talk about time management in meetings. And this is something managers do an awful lot of, and it's very important. Meetings can be overwhelming, they can consume a lot of time, or they can be a huge benefit to the manager. So let's talk about the top 5 points for good time management. First of all is set proper priorities. And yeah, common time management problem is managers lose sight of their role. What is their job? So for example, you need to do employee reviews and you need to have dinner with the clients, and you find that, I don't really like doing employee reviews. Yes, they're not fun at all. But spending time with the clients and having dinner is a lot of fun, drinks and dinner and all that. So you prioritize going out with the clients, and you can justify that to yourself by saying, they're important people and we need to keep them happy. So yeah, it's not necessarily what's best for the firm. That decision wouldn't necessarily be best for the firm, but it's best for what the manager feels. And yeah, you need to make decisions what's best for the firm. So it's also common for new managers to do their employees' work because it's just plain faster. I've seen a lot of new managers either have a rough start or even fail because they just can't tell people to do their jobs. They'll just okay, it's faster if I just do it, rather than tell you and train you, just faster if I do it. Yeah, not a good thing. Schedule big time for big tasks. Yeah, when you have a big task going on, you need to write a report, you need to review some notes about customers, something like that. You need to set aside hours or some appropriate amount of time to get the job done. So like taking just short bits of time on large projects, that wastes your time because you got to go back and refresh your memory on what's happening. Maybe you get 3 pages into the report and then you put it down, and then you got to come back and you got to re-review those 3 pages because you can't keep going because you kind of forgot what was happening. So yeah, it's a huge time saver to complete a task all at one time. So it could be going through your emails, like I said earlier, the internal report, something like that. Minimize interruptions. Find time where you can be not interrupted, or set up arrangements with your employees so you're not interrupted. So interruptions, yeah, are part of the manager's job. When things are going wrong, somebody should knock on your door and tell you, but it is best to stay focused on the tasks without unscheduled interruptions, except for emergencies. Managers can create their own interruptions. Yeah, we often interrupt ourselves. We want to check social media, check voicemail if you have that at your company, emails, see if something's come in. Yeah, short term that may reduce stress, but in the long term, those will start to pile up on you, and they just eat away your time. It's inefficient. So if you want to do those kind of things, that's okay, but set aside, like, I'm going to finish an hour of work and then I'll give myself 10 minutes on doing some other small task like social media. To minimize interruptions, I often work on Saturdays, holidays, things like that, late evenings. I'll go home and then come back. So go home, have dinner, see the family, and then go back to work. So people aren't there at that time and you won't be bothered. You set short-term goals. You break big tasks into smaller pieces and you set goals towards that achievement. So yeah, maybe you have something that's going to take 5 days, and every time you finish a piece of it, then you reward yourself by doing something. It can be something personal, like buying yourself a fancy dinner, or just allowing yourself to do something else at the end of the day. So you celebrate reaching those checkpoints, and by having these markers, when you reach a marker, you can feel better. Otherwise, you'll become overwhelmed. It becomes like swimming in the ocean. If you don't know where you are, it could be, overwhelming. But if you have markers, if you have buoys along the way, you say, I reached buoy number 1, I reached buoy number 2, buoy number 3. Yeah, it's psychologically, it really helps. Delegate tasks to employees. There is a limited amount of time for you to get your job done. So you need to delegate tasks to employees so you can do that, so you can get your blocks of time to get your job done. A lot of newer managers especially have problems asking people to do things, but yeah, it's a necessity. Now, one of my tricks that I have used over the years, and I still use it, is that in order to reduce sleeplessness, I keep a pen and paper next to my bed. And when I wake up in the middle of the night and say, I forgot to do this, or I need to do that, or I need to tell such and such this, I just write it down, and then I can go right back to sleep. I mean, how many times do you find yourself laying there saying, okay, I need to remember this, I need to remember this, Yeah, that'll really mess you up. Once you write it down, you can fall right back to sleep. Running efficient meetings. Yeah, a meeting can be a real time sink unless you do it well. So here are my rules that I use. It's always worked out rather well for me. Send out an agenda at least 2 days in advance to everybody who's going to attend. And yes, they should read that, and it should have things that they are expected to bring to the meeting, whether it be a report or informal or formal report, whatever it is. It's the items on there that should be brought to the meeting. Only invite people who need to receive or supply information. This shortens up the meeting and it doesn't waste other employees' times. People who are sitting in the room that are not receiving or sending information, that's a waste of their time. And extra people often cause delays and issues. Yeah, the number of times somebody has just kind of come in to sit in on a meeting and then they bring up stuff because they're not informed, they don't know what was happening in the past, and we got to bring them up to speed, kills everybody's time. Yeah, just no. Invitees should have decision-making authority and be of the same level, or be holders of key information. So that is because if you have like one president in the room and then you have a bunch of directors, all the directors are going to be quiet. They're going to defer to the higher ranking people. So you want everybody about the same level so that nobody's intimidated by other people. Also, there's this thing where somebody will send a lower person into your meeting. And what'll happen is when you say, okay, Bob, can you speak up for manufacturing? Can you promise me this is going to happen? And Bob will say, well, I have to go back and talk to my manager. Well, that's called second bite at the apple. That gives them a chance to kind of renegotiate, delay things, and so on. You don't want that. Everybody in the room needs to be a decision maker at the same level so that when you say, Bob, can you get this done by next week? Bob can say, yeah, I think I can get that done. And you got a promise there. The fourth one, assign tasks during the meeting with completion dates and person responsible. You notice they got this starred here. That's because that's very important. That's the whole purpose of a meeting, is you assign tasks to the people who are there and you give them time frames in which to work. And then you send that summary around to everyone after the meeting. Everybody who attended the meeting should get a copy of that, so everybody is working from the same page. Good meetings are places where things get done, and they're not just BS sessions, they're not complaining sessions. Survey results show that effective managers are good at defining the purpose of the meeting, so you got to tell people what the meeting is about, and they use agendas to keep the meetings on track. So yeah, one of the problems with agendas, however, is that most managers do not give enough time to cover each of the agenda points. They'll say, okay, 5 minutes to cover last week's problem in manufacturing. Well, 5 minutes isn't enough. So yeah, that's the trick. So you got to put in realistic times. Okay, so that's the end of part 4. Let's go on to part 5.